What I am about to speak of takes place in America. But considering America provides security for 3/4 of the world, and it's bombing the other quarter, whether directly or indirectly through proxy countries, I would say what I have to say here pretty much concerns the entire world. So if any of you truly consider yourselves human, you will listen to what I have to say here, because it concerns all of us. As we speak, the American Congress is trying to pass House Resolution 1808. For those of you that don't know, House Resolution 1808, also known as the Assault Weapon Ban of 2021, will ban all semi-automatic firearms in my country, America. We won't be allowed to own any of it. No handguns, no rifles, no shotguns, no ARs, no AKs, nothing. The only thing we'll be allowed to own are bolt action, lever action, and pump action firearms that hold 5 rounds or less, or shells. Some of you that aren't American might say, who gives a shit? None of us have guns either. I'll get to that. But if they succeed in passing this, America will go down a dark path from which there is no return. Without a deterrent, the methods of peace will be obsolete. No more protesting for our LGBTQ plus brethren, no more activism, no more demonstrations, no more free speech. Laugh all you want, but history is on my fucking side. It may not happen now, it may not happen 10 years from now, but it will happen within our lifetimes. I guarantee you that. Especially after witnessing what our government and police are capable of, thanks to the digital age bringing their barbarism to light. If Americans don't stop this, we have no future. 96% of mass shootings, by the way, everything I'm about to discuss relates to America only. 96% of mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. Criminals tend to pick targets where they know the victims can't shoot back. So good job to our government for facilitating mass shootings. Recently, within 15 seconds, a mass shooter was stopped by a civilian with a gun because the mass shooter mistakenly thought the location was a gun-free zone, not realizing the state law had changed 2 weeks prior. On the other hand, for 70 minutes, police officers sat in a school hallway amidst the screams of children, laughing and checking Facebook as the children were slaughtered wholesale. Meanwhile, their colleagues shoot an unarmed black man in the back 46 fucking times. 46 times. They fired like 60, 70 something rounds at him. 3 police officers just fired into a crowd of people enjoying their evening in an entertainment district. They injured 5 people, all because they thought they saw a man with a gun. No gun was recovered. A SWAT team just killed a 14-year-old boy when their flashbangs lit a house on fire and burned him alive. They were pursuing a robbery suspect. Either he wasn't there or they had the wrong house, which happens really fucking often in America. They get the wrong house all the fucking time. Either way, a 14-year-old kid is dead now because they were trying to essentially catch a thief. More people are killed by police officers in America every year than mass shooters. In fact, the number of mass shootings hasn't even gone up substantially. Our conglomerate of state-sponsored corporate media just started covering them more in a pathetic attempt to gain support for their tyrannical malefaction of our Constitution. Our government left billions of dollars worth of military-grade weapons, vehicles, and equipment in Afghanistan for the Taliban to seize, something I'm sure their neighbors aren't happy about. Our government sent billions of dollars worth of weapon systems to Ukraine, which they turned around and sold on the black market. Our government sends billions of dollars of weapon systems to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates every year, despite knowing full well those weapons will be directly used in the genocide currently being conducted against Yemeni civilians. By the way, providing weapons to an entity knowing they will be used in genocide is a war crime. So imagine your neighbor supplying weapons to the KKK. Or a white supremacist group for non-Americans. Our government hardly seems fit to dictate what firearms we can and cannot own. When a government guilty of war crimes, criminal negligence, firearms trafficking, malfeasance, and corruption tells me to disarm, my only response is going to be get bent. The worst part is the rabid ignorance infesting our populace would have many people applauding their iniquitousness, not realizing that armed minorities are harder to oppress, that gun rights are civil rights. They somehow think, despite the mountains of evidence to the contrary, that the government will protect them, even though the Supreme Court ruled just last year that police are not obligated to protect us. Surprisingly, emotions are not a substitute for erudition. How many Americans do you think our government's negligence with actual weapons of war has killed? How many innocents, American or not? If people can't comprehend the importance of having the right to self-defense as a citizen of a superpower, then they need to correct their lack of vision and pay attention. It doesn't matter if every country on the entire planet disarms. Our citizenry must always bear the responsibility of being an armed society. That is our sacrifice as a superpower. Because all one needs to do is look at how our government behaves overseas. That alone puts me in favor of not allowing the government to trample on our Second Amendment. If the rest of the world were smarter, if the rest of you all were smarter, you'd be advocating for our right to bear arms and self-defense as well. Why, you ask? Well, if you think our government's global imperialism is bad now, imagine how bad it would be if we were powerless to stop them. Americans need to realize the responsibility that comes with being a citizen of history's largest superpower. Over half of us don't even bother voting. Those that do are more worried about their tribe beating the other tribe, rather than actually electing a competent candidate. They're perfectly content to drive this country into the fucking ground and completely destroy it, so long as they beat the other party. The amount of people that actually pay attention to what our government does is a fraction of a percent. The highest website traffic of Congress.gov, a website you can go to see what legislation Congress is passing or trying to pass in America, the highest website traffic they ever got was 1.2 million visits in 2017. That's 0.36% of the American population, not even counting the politicians and lawyers that had to check it, or foreign visits, because you don't have to be in America to visit the website. So it might even be less than 0.36%. Either way, it's a fucking pathetic number. Nobody can tell me what Congress discussed on C-SPAN yesterday. Nobody can tell me what bills were presented to the president to sign last week. This isn't a fucking game. Our complacency is killing innocents, right this second and every second after. If the American people don't grow up and learn how to conduct productive and healthy discourse again, the elites they keep electing into office are going to burn this fucking country to the ground. And when everything is burning, they won't give a fuck high up in their ivory towers. Not after spending decades stealing trillions of dollars from us, giving it to their corporate buddies, and enriching their own businesses. You Americans want fair wages and working conditions. You want equality and equity. Then stop electing old white multi-million-dollar business owners into office. You want your guns and to keep the fruits of your labor. You want to drain the swamp. Then stop electing corporate CEOs into office. You want the elites to stop getting bailouts, favoritism, and unregulated power, and stop voting the fucking elites into office. It boggles my mind that everybody can vote for all these old white people when the average age of a voter in America is 35. How out of touch do you think a fucking 80-year-old rich person is who's never spent a fucking day walking in our shoes? They are so out of touch with the average American. They have no fucking clue. Look at a picture of when Hillary Clinton visited the apartment of a minimum wage worker. The look on her face was fucking priceless. She was shocked. She had no fucking idea that Americans lived like that. She had no idea anyone in this country lived in such fucking squalor, in such poverty. They are so fucking clueless up there, and they're not even good politicians. The state of our country today is proof of that. They don't give a fuck about governing us. They don't give a fuck about diplomacy. They only care about lining their pockets and taking as much from us as they can fucking squeeze until there's nothing left to take. And when this country is fucking in the dirt, they're not going to give a fuck. They're billionaires. They're rich beyond their wildest dreams. There's already politicians fleeing the country, taking jobs in foreign countries. They fucking see the writing on the wall. It would be nice if my brothers and sisters would too. But they don't care who's running. You don't care who's running. You only care about beating the other party, no matter the cost or the damage it causes, not only to this country, but to the world. Look up pictures of Yemeni refugees. The American people's complacency did that. Their ignorance did that. We've let our government run rampantly out of control, turning lesser countries into rubble. Then we wonder why terrorists fly planes into our buildings. It's fucking laughable. Americans need to open their eyes and see the forest for the trees. If you made it this far, I commend you for having a longer attention span than the average American. And if you are American, I hope you will stop trying to prove you're above the other. I truly do. Stop letting them divide and conquer us. It's supposed to be the American people united and the government divided, not the other way around. Executive, legislative, judicial. One makes the laws, one passes the laws, one enforces the laws. So why do we have government agencies in the executive branch making laws? Why do we have the chief of our armed forces passing 100 executive orders within a year of being in office? That is not the president of a constitutional republic. It's not even the president of a democracy. It's a fucking tyrant. The worst part is, since we do provide security for 3/4 of the world, when the shit hits the fan, and it will, it's going to leave a power vacuum. And I guarantee you that power vacuum is going to kick off World War III. I guarantee it. But I digress. If you are American, please, for the love of fucking God or whatever deity you believe in, get your head out of your ass. We need to come together. We are running out of fucking time. It isn't left versus right. It's not black versus white or red versus blue. Enough with the red hat, blue shirt insanity. Because it's plebeian versus patrician. It always has been. They have you thinking we're fighting a culture war when we're fighting a class war. Well, you need to wake up before this war is lost. We need to start trying to fix our horrifically broken government. Because if we don't, millions, hundreds of millions of people are going to suffer. Just open a fucking history book, man. This never ends well. It never has, and it never will. Never. Godspeed.